On a sweltering summer day in July 1954, the bustling Haneda airport in Tokyo was alive with the familiar rhythm of arrivals and departures. Among the sea of travelers, a man emerged from the crowd, impeccably dressed in an elegant suit, his briefcase in hand, blending seamlessly into the throng of international businessmen and weary tourists. Nothing about his appearance seemed extraordinary, until he presented his passport at the immigration counter. The immigration officer, accustomed to the endless procession of travelers, glanced at the passport and then did a double-take. The document, though ornate and official in appearance, bore the name of a country he had never seen before: Taured. Curious, he leafed through the pages, where official-looking visas and stamps from various European countries adorned the interior. Each appeared genuine, yet none of the officials at Haneda had ever heard of Taured. The officer, maintaining a professional composure, asked the man to clarify. The traveler, speaking fluent French, and then switching effortlessly to Japanese and several other languages, seemed surprised by the question. He explained that Taured was a small country situated between France and Spain, and that he had traveled to Japan on business many times before. His company, he insisted, had contracts with several Japanese firms, and he produced documents to support his claim. Unsure how to proceed, the immigration officer summoned his superior. Soon, a group of officials surrounded the man, inspecting his passport, scrutinizing his papers, and questioning him about his journey. The man from Taured remained calm and cooperative, expressing only polite confusion at the officials' growing agitation. To him, everything was in order. He had even exchanged money at the airport before, using currency from his homeland that, upon inspection, bore the image of a monarch no one recognized. Determined to resolve the mystery, the officials produced a map and asked the man to point out his country. Without hesitation, he placed his finger on the region where the tiny Principality of Andorra lies, nestled in the Pyrenees Mountains. But when he saw the name Andorra, his brow furrowed in confusion. He insisted that his homeland, Taured, had existed for centuries, and that Andorra was an unfamiliar name to him. The officials pressed further, but the traveler's story never wavered. Baffled, the authorities escorted the man to a hotel nearby, placing him in a room under guard while they investigated further. His documents, currency, and passport were sent for analysis. Calls were made to embassies and government agencies across Europe, but none had ever heard of Taured, nor had any record of its existence. The following morning, the officials returned to the hotel room, only to find that the man was gone. There were no signs of escape, no evidence of how he could have left the guarded room. His documents and belongings had vanished as well, leaving behind only an enduring mystery. Over the decades, the story of the man from Taured has echoed through the corridors of paranormal lore and internet forums alike, captivating the imaginations of skeptics and believers. Was he a time traveler? A visitor from a parallel universe? Or simply the subject of an elaborate urban legend? The tale endures, inviting us to ponder reality's boundaries, and the possibility that our world is not as fixed or as certain as we believe. To appreciate this enigma, we must first understand the context of post-war Japan. The nation was in the throes of rebuilding, opening itself to the wider world after years of isolation and conflict. Haneda Airport, a gateway to the globe, was a crossroads for people, ideas, and cultures. The post-war years were marked by a sense of possibility, but also by uncertainty, making the perfect backdrop for a story that challenges the very fabric of what we know. The details of the man from Taured's appearance were unremarkable. He wore a dark suit, carried a briefcase, and displayed the confident manner of a seasoned traveler. Yet it was his paperwork that set him apart. The passport, meticulously crafted, bore the emblems and signatures of officials from a land that did not exist in any atlas. The stamps inside suggested years of international travel, including visits to countries that recognized Taured as a sovereign nation. His proficiency in multiple languages impressed the officials. He conversed easily in French, Japanese, and English, and claimed fluency in several more. His knowledge of geography and world affairs was extensive, yet whenever the conversation turned to Taured, His answers diverged from anything known in our world. He described a nation with a rich history, a government, and a culture all its own. He spoke of its capital, its major exports, and even its diplomatic relationships. To the officials, it was as if he had stepped out of an alternate reality. As the story goes, the authorities checked with the hotel where the man claimed to have reservations. No booking existed under his name. The company he said he represented could not be found in any directory. The phone number he provided led to a dead end. Each attempt to verify his story only deepened the mystery. When the man vanished from his guarded room, the officials were left with more questions than answers. The locks had not been tampered with, and the guards stationed outside had seen and heard nothing unusual. It was as if the man had simply ceased to exist. Over time, the story of the man from Taured has been retold and embellished, with new details added and old ones reinterpreted. Some versions claim that the man's documents disappeared along with him. Others say they were retained by the authorities and studied by experts, who could never explain their origin. Some insist that the man was never seen again, while others suggest he reappeared elsewhere, equally baffled by his surroundings. Skeptics have proposed various explanations. Some suggest that the story is a fabrication, a modern myth born of confusion and miscommunication. Others believe that the man was a clever con artist, using forged documents to conceal his true identity. Still others see the tale as an allegory, a metaphor for the dislocation and uncertainty of the post-war era. Yet the legend persists, in part because it taps into deep-seated questions about the nature of reality. What if there are other worlds, other timelines, where history unfolded differently? What if, in some parallel universe, Taured is as real as France or Japan? Could it be that for a brief moment, the boundaries between worlds grew thin, and a traveler from another reality slipped through? The notion of alternate realities and parallel universes is not confined to science fiction. In quantum physics, the idea of the multiverse suggests that there may be countless versions of reality, each with its own history and possibilities. In some interpretations, every choice we make spawns a new universe, where events unfold differently. Perhaps, in one such universe, Taured is a thriving nation, and the man who appeared in Tokyo was simply a victim of a cosmic accident. The story of the man from Taured invites us to consider the fragility of our own reality. Borders, nations, and identities that seem immutable may be more fluid than we imagine. The world is full of mysteries, lost tribes, forgotten languages, and unexplained phenomena that remind us of how much we have yet to discover. At its heart, the legend is a reminder of the power of the unknown. It challenges us to question our assumptions, to look beyond the familiar, and to embrace the possibility that reality is stranger than we can imagine. Whether fact or fiction, the tale endures because it touches something deep within us, a longing for adventure, a curiosity about the unknown, and a sense that the world is full of secrets waiting to be uncovered. In the years since that summer day in Tokyo, the story of the man from Taured has inspired countless theories and speculations. Some see him as a time traveler, inadvertently transported to the wrong era by a malfunctioning device. Others believe he was a visitor from a parallel universe, where the map of Europe is drawn differently. There are even those who suggest he was a government agent, testing the security of Japan's borders with an elaborate ruse. But perhaps the most compelling explanation is also the simplest, that the story is a reflection of our own uncertainties, a mirror held up to the world's complexities. In an age of rapid change and shifting identities, the idea of a man with a passport from nowhere resonates with our own fears and hopes. Imagine for a moment what it must have been like to be the man from Taured, to arrive in a foreign land, confident in your identity, only to discover that everything you know is called into question, to find that your homeland does not exist, that your history is unknown, and that you are alone in a world that cannot recognize you. It is a profound dislocation, a sense of being unmoored from reality itself. Yet there is also something liberating in the story. The man from Taured moves through the world with certainty, untroubled by the doubts of those around him. He knows who he is, even if no one else does. In this sense, his story is a testament to the strength of identity and the power of belief. Even when the world refuses to acknowledge him, he remains steadfast, refusing to relinquish his sense of self. The legend of the man from Taured endures because it asks us to imagine a world where the impossible is possible. It reminds us that the boundaries of our knowledge are always expanding, and that every mystery invites us to look deeper. In a world that often seems mapped and measured, the story is a reminder that there are still unexplored territories, both in the world and in ourselves. As we ponder the fate of the mysterious traveler, we are reminded that every journey is an act of faith. We step into the unknown, carrying with us the stories and identities that define us. Sometimes we find ourselves in unfamiliar places, confronted by questions we cannot answer. In those moments, we must rely on our own sense of self, trusting that even when the world cannot recognize us, we know who we are. The man from Taured is more than a curiosity or an unsolved mystery. He is a symbol of the human spirit, a traveler on the road between worlds, seeking a place to call home. His story invites us to embrace the unknown, to celebrate the mysteries that make life extraordinary, and to remember that in a universe vast and strange, we are all, in some sense, travelers from Taured. And so, the tale lives on, whispered in airport terminals and recounted in late-night conversations, a reminder that the world is full of wonders yet to be discovered. Whether he was a time traveler, a visitor from another world, or simply the creation of an overactive imagination, the man from Taured challenges us to look beyond the boundaries of what we know, to dream, to question, and to believe that somewhere out there the impossible might just be waiting for us.